Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Ed Cohen, your broadcast host on Global TV Talk Show, a news program of globalbusinessnews.net. Since '03, Google Analytics has been tracking eyeballs, and page views, and visitors, and they have recorded 1.2 million reader page views from more than 100 countries. 70% roughly are US, Canada, Mexico, Brazil. About 20% Europe, 9% Asia, Pacific, 1% the rest. Okay. Our special guest today is Richard Polak, who's also here in California. And so Richard is very, very well known in the human resources world and at the boardroom level of aiding CEOs and other C-suite members about people and how to communicate and how to manage. So let's welcome Richard Polak. Hi there.
Hi, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being our guest. So you've just written a book, and it's at the top of Amazon. Could you hold up the cover for our audience, please?
It just so happens to have a copy here.
Handy dandy.
Right, here it is. Right.
All right, work smart now. And what's the subheading? How to jumpstart
Productivity.
empower employees and achieve more.
Yeah.
Okay, so how did you get it to be at the top of the bestseller?
Well, I've been doing this for 44 years, and I asked all my friends to buy it. I was really fortunate that, like you said, I started to become better and more well-known, like you, super well-known. Everybody knows Ed Cohen. And so, and then when a book came out, people just wanted to buy it. So we got the #1 new release on Amazon. I was really surprised and so happy.
Yeah, that's great. Really happy for you. Okay, so work smart now. Is this because of COVID?
Oh, no, not at all. It just so happened that there happens to be a portion of one chapter about it because, and I don't even refer to it even as COVID as much as a pandemic, because pandemics have happened in the past. They will happen in the future. We were unfortunate to live through it. Another point of view is we were fortunate to live through it and learn from it. But our children will live through another pandemic, hopefully not as bad as this one. Still continuing, actually. It's so sad for those in India, actually, that they can't find any way to control it there. And other places around the world haven't even gotten it yet. But it's not about, it wasn't written for this purpose. It was written anyway.
Okay. Why did you write the book?
Because I wanted to share all my experiences that I've learned over 44 years in the business that I hope someone else can take from and apply to their businesses. It's really written for CEOs and heads of HR. There is a chapter in it about personal optimization, which is important for everyone to read. but it's about empowering employees, helping the corporation do better without putting stress on employees. It's really about working smart and not harder, or smarter, not harder, what the essence of it is.
So we're going to do a deep dive on several items that I have in mind here, but so many people are working from home now and have been and probably will be for a period of time. How do you manage? How do you measure performance?
Oh, wow. Really important question. Thank you for asking that. But I believe you would measure it and manage employees pretty much the same you would if they were in the office, because you're not going to look over their shoulder in the office. And if you do, you're adopting former old-fashioned management techniques. The way of the future is to empower employees, ask them to do a task, and then give them the opportunity to achieve it, and be accountable for it. Absolutely. So all those are no different than measurable outcomes, and accountability is no different. And you should be able to do that whether they're remote or not.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. That can be done anywhere.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So are the deadlines any different?
No, would be no different at all. And we've proven, we've seen those companies that are well managed have been able to take advantage of it and find out that their employees are, in fact, even more productive. You think about it, right? You're not traveling to and from work. So for some of us, I remember when I lived in New York, I was traveling an hour and a half each way to get into the city, right? So it's 3 hours of time I have back for myself. And a portion of that people do put back into work and not just goof off. It also gives people the opportunity to be in control of their own lives and have their own destiny, which they've never had before. In fact, I just read in the maybe the Wall Street Journal today, Google's going to ask certain employees to come back to work in September, and they're saying we're not coming back. I'll get another job. If you're making me coming back, I'm going to work for Microsoft or Intel or Apple.
So let's talk about the measurement again, and with a point of view of global talent, not just U.S. talent. So, you've done work for companies that may be U.S. based, but they got huge operations in Europe and elsewhere. Yeah. And moving people around. So all of that has stopped for the most part. But there are companies, particularly energy companies that I know of, that haven't cut it out totally, slowed it down. There's still people relocating and on business travel.
Mm-hmm. So what's your question?
So can you measure, or should you measure, global talent differently than domestic talent?
No. And I'm a global consultant and been so for my career. All right. And if you ask me something about the U.S. healthcare system, probably can't tell you that much about it, but I could tell you a bunch about the Hong Kong, the Chinese, the German, the French, the Belgian, and so on. And I know what motivates employees. And what motivates employees are the same motivates employees, any employee anywhere around the world.
What's that? Recognition, right?
Oh, thank you. Yes, recognition is really important. In fact, there's firms that just, it's fascinating actually. When I'll do a session and then I'm going to give away a $25 coffee bean card, that is gold.
Yeah, because it's real and they want it.
It's real. It's worth more than the salary they're being paid because they're so happy to receive it and win it. The recognition that they receive from something that small is really, really important. And all the studies show that. Support that.
So what about recognition or empathy, they call it now, asking people how they are, how's the family and how rough is it working from home?
Okay, there's a part of that that's difficult to ask anymore. Okay, because
of privacy or because
privacy.
Because you don't want to know.
We don't want to know, and not just right. You don't want to know because I remember a former boss of mine said, if you have problems at home that you're bringing to work, and you have problems at work, you're bringing two problems to work, right? Yeah. So the idea meddling or asking about people's personal lives, there's a line there now that you can't do that anymore. If someone offers, you can be empathetic, you can help, but we don't. Business is business, and family life is family life. And in fact, I prefer even to say I don't like the term work-life balance. I believe in work and family balance because it's all part of life.
That's better. So on yesterday's broadcast, we had somebody as intuitive as you, and he said, "Stop calling it work-life balance. It's harmony, and it keeps moving.
Yeah,
It's not a stable topic."
I like that too a lot. It's harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Harmony.
about your new book, did you have challenges doing this book?
Oh, sure. It's, I can do global human resources and I can give advice, and that's now comes easy for me because I've been doing it for so long, but I'm not a author, right? So writing a book is a completely different discipline than giving advice in global human resources. Taking this and turning it into that was very challenging for me. I didn't want to do it. It was hard. I struggled. I'll do it later. And so it took me 2 years to write the book. It just little by little, inch by inch. And then I was able to pull it off. But it was really hard to write. I can write an article much faster, of course. Like you just said, it's a lot of words. There's 50,000 words in that book. It's a lot of words to write down.
And that's the edited version.
Right. That's all the stuff I had that even put in.
So what words of advice do you have now for all the authors to be out there?
I think it's a form of discipline, and you have to
not self-flagellation.
No, self-discipline. If you want to write a book, first I wouldn't suggest you just write it and put it on Amazon because nobody will read it. Write a proposal, submit it to a publisher. At least this was my process. I'm not telling anybody what to do. I know it worked for me. I wrote a proposal. I submitted it to publishers. Publishers said yes, gave me an advance to write it. I wrote the book. They gave me the second part of the advance. And now I have royalties coming back from the book. I don't know what it's going to be. It's not even that important to me. I'm sure it's not going to be significant because that's not why I wrote it. But there's a process of doing so, and you really need a publisher to do this properly.
So what's a royalty? It's a commission?
Yeah, I'll get 15% on the sale.
Of the wholesale price, not the retail, right?
No, retail price.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Well, thank you very much for sharing that information. And so most of the readers of this book, probably 99%, will be business people, right?
Oh, certainly. It's in the business books category. It's not a novel. It's not nonfiction. It's a business book. And it's even further designed for CEOs and heads of HR.
And so what do you think they should take away from it? They'll probably have a long list here, but
right, there is a long list, of course there is. But if they take away one thing, it's compassionate productivity. That's the term I use in the book.
Compassionate productivity. Okay, what does that mean?
It means understanding your people, have empathy for them as they're not just human capital, they're human beings, and they're people that want to help you be successful. And if you help them and you care about them, they'll only make you more money. That's what I'm trying to get across. It's not just about being nice. It's a good business to be nice. It's good business to give recognition. It's good business to help people be more engaged. Right? It's all good business. It's all in the book, and it's all fact-based. It's all statistical based. There's a return. There's a whole business case at the end of each chapter that adds up to $300 million. If you have, I add it all up. If you're a professional services company with 1,000 employees and you follow the precepts in this book, in 1 year, you'll increase your revenue $300 million. And nobody has to work harder. And you don't have to pay them anymore.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
With the coming of AI, robots,
Right, essentially, yeah.
bots,
Right.
people are going to run the bots, right? Not the bots run the people.
Well, we don't know that yet, right?
Right.
In some cases, and what the concern is that the bots will run the people or tell them what to do, and then we'll end up turning into the bots ultimately, right? Most of us are lemmings anyway. We think about it. We just follow somebody's orders and we don't speak up, and we can't live that way. So AI should be there to supplement what we're doing, help us with the mundane tasks, but not take away our intellectual capital of strategy, of philosophy, and how we want to live our lives, but could easily take away the mundane tasks, AI.
So let's get into the book for a couple of minutes here. As I said, I read the preface and I didn't not have time to look at anything further. But in the preface, it just struck me, wow, like you address the common thought that the most valuable thing a person has is time. And you say, no, it's not that. You said it's integrity.
Mm-hmm.
So what makes that number one? And the more you think about it, the more flowery you can become. But, what's your take?
Well, it's very simple to me. If you don't have integrity, you don't have character, and then time doesn't mean anything. You have no time. That's all. It's that simple. You've got to have an essence of who you are and your character, your strength, your integrity. That's the foundation of every person and anybody should have. And if you give that up, and you can only give that up, and we've all been tested, and we continue to be tested to give up our integrity and our character, then you've got no time, and time doesn't mean anything.
Question that I have about integrity is define it.
Living your life through truth, being honest. In fact, there's an expression that when you pass away and you go up to heaven, God's first question is, how are you in business? It's not how are you with your family. It's not how are you the environment. His first question is, how are you in business? And the reason for that question, that's all Talmudic, by the way. It is in Jewish philosophy, is because it's so tempting in business to be dishonest or manipulative. And money is such, it's that tool. It's that snake, if you will, that will draw you away from and pull you to give away your integrity. So that's how I define it. You've got to be true and real and honest. And if you don't, and if you're not, you're at nothing at all.
So you can give examples like storytelling, but you can't teach it.
Yeah, right. Well, I can tell you an example that happened to me. I wanted, it was a time I was Hollywood producer and produced movies back in my early years. And I needed an actress who was a big star. And I went to the agent, and the agent, and we had lunch together. And he said, yeah, I can give you this actor. I can get the actress for your movie. I said, great. Let's get her the script and let's get it made. And then he goes like this. I said, oh, and he goes, I said, what do you mean? And I said, oh, you want money? I said, well, don't you get a commission for when the actress does the movie? And he goes, I said, oh, you want me to pay you extra so that you'll get the script? He said, yeah. I said, okay, just tell me what it costs. How much does it cost for your character? How much does it cost for your integrity? What is that fee for me to pay you? I'll pay it. Tell me what your integrity costs. That was the end of the lunch. Essentially, he turned all red, and I blew the deal basically because my partner got really angry at me actually afterwards. She said, you should have paid him. You should have paid him. But that's an example of somebody, just lost his sense in his integrity.
Whew, that's a big one. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So the book, let's go back to the book. It's for C-level, the board, and aspiring managers.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's written in a way that every chapter is written in the form of dialogue at a coffee klatch between the CEO and special workers that he selected to give the truth about what's going on in the corporation. And I did that purposely because it's my easiest form of writing. Because I have a writing background.
Storytelling, sort of like being a reporter.
Yeah.
The fly on the wall in a room where
yes, exactly.
Stuff's going on.
Yeah.
So let's go back, looking at some questions here. The motivation, there's probably more than one, because, you're already busy. You don't need more work to do. So why did you do this? At first, and then it probably morphed into something else, right?
Well, I did it for a purpose, and that's a word now consulting firms are starting to use more of for some reason. Trying to create new words and terms. Employees should have a purpose, and through engagement they'll have purpose, and that's the newest term they're using now. These big consulting firms. For me, it really was purpose and meaning in my life, and I wanted to do something to leave that I hope will leave the planet in a better place. And about empowering employees through compassionate productivity. That was what motivated me.
So you now the word is sustainability.
Yeah.
Whatever that means. So, right. Okay. So let's go back to the year one. How did you why did you go after being a Hollywood producer? Why did you choose corporate HR?
Well, corporate HR was always my day job.
Oh,
all right. There's an expression in Hollywood: "Don't give up your day job." Right? And thank God for that, because I didn't. And it was the strangest thing. I kept on fail. I was a successful failure in Hollywood. I was just really good at it. And
really good at failing? No, but really good, but no money.
Whatever it was. Anything I have ever done never popped. Right. And so, but I kept getting promoted in this area, just an account executive, assistant vice president, senior vice president, then my own company and building that. And I'm banging my head against the wall over here, and this came easy for me. So that's how
somebody's going to pay you.
Yeah,
Right.
just pay me. And I didn't realize it, but I kept enjoying it, and it got more fun. And then the more fun I had, the more money I made. It's a great field that we're in, just a great field.
So you know Paul Falcone.
But pardon?
So you know this guy by the name of Paul Falcone.
Paul Falcone. Of course, I know Paul very well. Love him.
So he's still involved in Hollywood type stuff. So did you collaborate with him at all in the early days?
That's so funny. Did you know we did or something?
No, but I just figured because he was involved with Paramount and.
Oh yeah, no. Paul and I go way. And Paul, by the way, a real author. I don't know if you know this or not, but you should interview Paul. Paul has some of the best-selling books on
like 2,600 words to say or what.
Unbelievable. He's unbelievable. Like, yeah, right. What are the 100 best things or something not to say to employees or something along. He's an amazing writer and a really, really top HR executive. So yeah, we've known each other quite a while. There was one point when he was in between jobs that he actually worked with me in my company together. We worked together. So we got to know each other pretty well. Really solid. There's a guy with solid integrity. And in the entertainment business, there's a lot of temptation to not have it. He's kept it his whole life. I really admire him.
That's a good story. Again, I'm just a fly on the wall here.
Yeah, really. You really pulled up some fly. It's amazing.
If you could give a CEO only today one piece of advice, what would it be?
Empower your employees to do the job you want them to do. Set out and your vision, your strategic vision, what you want the company to achieve and how you want it to be achieved. Allow your employees to help you do that. They will do it. You don't have to come down with a hammer or a sledge. Just let them do their job. Tell them what you need them to do, and then let them run with it. And they'll be successful for you.
So feedback. I don't know whether you read that book by Angela Lane and Sergey Gorbatov. They're with AbbVie.
No.
And it was all about feedback. Talk back, or fair talk is what they called it a couple of years ago. So we did an interview with them. And now there was just another interview that I did with a woman who, I can't remember the title, I'm sorry, but it was about authenticity. Bring your whole self.
Mm-hmm.
And she says a dialogue. It's not just listening to feedback, but it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
Oh, it sounds obvious, but
yeah.
It doesn't work that way, does it?
Well, you mean
it should
between a CEO and others,
or just the boss and the direct report. It doesn't matter who.
Yeah, there's analogy I like,
because there's a fear factor.
Yeah, right. There isn't, for example, the U.S. Army or military, and I grew up as a military brat. My father was a colonel in the Army, ultimately, before he retired. And they tell you what to do. I'm your superior officer. They even call themselves superior officers, right? They say, I'm going to tell you, you do this, you do that. Now, the difference of that in the Israeli Army is they'll tell the soldiers what to do, and every soldier has the option. This is how they're trained, to say, I think there's a better way. Right? There's a very different way of combat and winning a war. Both succeed, but I suspect the Israeli Army thing has it better. Now, that's the way I think we should run our companies. This is what I like you to do, and this is the way I think you should do it. But am I wrong? Do you have a better way? And that's a dialogue, right? That's not just listening to somebody and then saying, okay, fine, I'm going to do it my way.
But like, for instance, in Italy, you have a traffic stop sign, but there it's not an order, it's a suggestion.
Right. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Right. I remember I was at court fighting a ticket once, and the judge said it was a sushi stop. It was a California roll, he called it.
I never thought of that.
Yeah.
That is funny. Okay, let's get back to this book. What's the title again?
Work Smart Now. Here, I'll show it to you again.
Yeah,
It wasn't too long ago, Ed, that
getting old.
right. I know we're both have these senior moments in our time.
Okay, so name a chapter in there that really you really enjoyed writing, and you just had to stop it because it was getting too heavy.
Oh, it's personal empowerment. That's what I'm most excited about, because there are 26 items on there to that you can help yourself with. And it's all calculated. If you do it, you'll save this much time. And then by the end of the day, you will give your employer X amount more back for that. And then once you do that, of course, you can go about saying, I've given you this. Now, can you give me a bonus or a raise? So that's one that resonated with, that started me to write the book, because I been spending my whole life trying to be more productive without working harder, just doing things smarter. And that chapter is my favorite. So if you read nothing else, just read that chapter.
Good. Boy, that's a good story. So were you in the Army?
No. It's not that they wouldn't take me, but they wouldn't take me, basically. I wanted to go to West Point because my father went there, and they wouldn't. I didn't get accepted. Then I wanted to go to I figured the Naval Academy, the Air Force Academy, but I had the funniest thing happened to me when I was 5 months old. A telephone pole fell on my head.
A telephone pole?
A whole real live big telephone pole fell on my head. And so I have a skull fracture. And they wouldn't take me because of that. It was absurd because I don't have no health issues. I just have a dent in my head, basically. So I couldn't get in the Army. I wanted to serve in the military, but I have a dent in my head.
So I was a medic.
Oh, really?
During the Vietnam, I know, in the reserves.
Oh, wow.
And I'm from Boston originally, and I was fortunate. I was A1A, graduating from college, 68, and everybody who got drafted was going over to Vietnam, which was not a pleasant thought. So I was fortunate to get into a medical unit, and even more fortunate in the reserves, and even more fortunate that I was in a specialty thoracic surgical unit.
Wow.
And I was just a nobody. I knew nothing. I knew how to put on a bandage, but that was it. And just talk about luck and position, and then of course what you do with it. But we never got called up. We got in 6 years of reserve duty, came pretty close. We were right at the top of the list more than once, bound for Vietnam. But because of the thoracic surgical unit, these are heart surgeons who deal with the middle right here.
Yeah.
So the doctors who ran it, they're all from Harvard Medical School. All right, and residents at Mass General Hospital, Boston Children's. And so they didn't want to do marching around, although we sort of had to, They wanted to take care of kids in the emergency room of Children's Hospital instead of going on bivouac, right? And so that's where I did a lot of my training, in a hospital setting. And I learned for the first time about dealing with people. I don't know, it wasn't anti-people, but I didn't know anything. And so it was life-changing because of what we saw week in, week out. And we did our 2-week summer camp thing out of the 6 years. 4 of those 6 years, or no, 3, I guess. 3 of those 6 years, we actually participated as I was a trained operating room technician, sort of a nurse. But because those guys were good teachers, even I could learn how to prepare a sterile tray, And so I got good at it. And so we did our duty because of these guys, not because of me. I was just tagging along at Walter Reed Army Hospital in Washington.
Oh, wow.
I know, we really saw a lot of interesting things, met interesting people. And the other times we did our service on Cape Cod, taking care of the guys that slept in the fields.
Yeah.
And, and I wore a white coat and I gave everybody a cold pass so they didn't have to go out.
Oh.
Anyway, it was just talk about military stuff and some of the incidents and the people that you come in contact, the situations, and it's all human resources.
Mm-hmm.
That was my experience in that, and that's what led me at the time, because I was just selling stuff. I've been in PR and advertising since I've been 15, so just doing something, So that's what led me into the idea of HR related stuff in a business setting. And who sells to HR? Well, it's insurances and benefits.
Yeah.
And it's products that they give to employees, right? And recruitment. And then it turns out relocation, which meant to me, because of my business background and marketing background, economic development. If a company is going to buy land and put up a factory somewhere, they're going to bring people in, and those people are going to buy houses.
All right.
They're going to spend all this money. All right. So that's how I got into where I am now, only layers beyond that. So it's interesting to hear your story. So on windy days, do you stay away from telephone poles now?
Well, not only on windy days, every day. No, the reason it fell on my head was they were moving the wires from one rotten pole to a new one. The rotten pole went, and it fell down because it was rotten. It was the only thing holding it up was the wires, and it fell down on my baby carriage. It was in Japan, actually. I was born in Japan. And
because of military.
Yeah, my father was stationed there. It was a Japanese telephone pole,
Oh boy. So let's talk about what are you going to do? Are you going to go on speaking tours?
I've been offered to speak at some conferences, and I will. I think it's important enough that people should hear about this, and I want more employers to practice compassionate productivity. I've seen too many bad employers just for money, and the way I ran my company, I call it the inverted pyramid: employees first, customers second, money third. And you do that, you will really make more money because employees will make the customers more happy. You're right; it's an inverted pyramid.
Like it's a funnel.
Yeah.
So everything speeds up when it goes down. Sure.
Exactly. Funnels might even be a better word.
Okay, so
but money will come out of the funnel.
So let's talk about in the headlines now. And I'm sure you've heard this before. It made headlines. Is that a lot of people are going to quit their company and get another job if they can pretty quick now that things are opening up, as in the U.S. anyway. So. What say you about all that? It's going to be a lot of turmoil.
Well, I'm all for employees who are dissatisfied, and there's so many of them, and there's no reason for it except for bad management. And it's all very clear because studies show that you can pay somebody 25% below market if you treat them well. So if they're not happy where they're working and they're able to get other work, they should. And there should be no issue about that at all. And the only turmoil or disruption would be with the employer that's not treating their employees properly. And they get their comeuppance, right? Get what they deserve. They'll lose the people that they're most valuable.
So let's talk about productivity again as we come to a close. Where does productivity begin? And then how do you measure that?
Okay, actually, it's just really important because employers believe, and most people would default to, and the trap is to think, and productivity begins when you start work. And it doesn't actually. It starts before you get to work. Right? What kind of night's sleep did you What did you have for breakfast? What's your mental state before you get there? All those things are really critical. If you've got a good night's sleep, which is the number one most important thing in productivity, then you had a good breakfast, and even if you're able to exercise, even a long walk. By the way, these are the 3 things I do every day. And then hopefully what follows is my mental health. Then you're going to have a very productive day. You just can't help yourself. You're just going to be engaged in what you're doing. So that's what's most important about productivity. That timing is before you get to work.
That's great advice. So let's talk about the entertainment business for a second here. I'm intrigued with this. Streaming, movie theaters are opening up again. So, all the production is going to start if it hasn't already.
Right.
So with all the streaming, all the money that's flowing, God, it just seems like it's a boom town again. I mean, like back in the 40s or something in LA or everywhere really where they make movies. But there's there's such a demand, and the talent is so fickle, and the stars are the stars, but not everybody can be Tom Hanks. So how do you manage people like that?
Well, when you say people like that, because there's so many different subsets in the entertainment, there's the studio executive, there's the agency agents, there's the producers, there's the writers, there's the actor, then there's the actor stars, and then there's what's called below the line, which are all those people that make the movie, the director of photography, the editor, the grips, the key grips, and so on. Which ones? Everyone's actually quite unique, right? And they should all be treated that way, because we all should be treated not just unique in our silos of our professions, but us as individuals. You mentioned earlier recognition. I remember it was that show that I love that show. She did so well with it. Oh, it was on Madison Avenue or something. Mad Men.
Yeah,
right?
Mad Men. Right.
Okay, remember that? And the line one of the guys said when
the guys with the thin ties.
Yeah, there's the ties. Right? Somebody came in and she said, "You don't even thank me for the work I'm doing here." The woman said to her boss, and the boss says, "I thank you every 2 weeks with a paycheck." Right. So that's just not enough. And that was enough back in the 60s when Mad Men were, on Madison Avenue and all the advertising agencies were there. But that's not the future. That's not the way you treat people, and shouldn't have been back then. But you know how things have changed in the world since we were younger, and this whole diversity push and empowerment, everything, and it's all true, and it's all coming, and it's all good. So in each one of those silos, they all have to be held accountable for the jobs they're doing. You give them as much empowerment as you can, and you give them recognition for the work they do. I talked to a psychiatrist with raising children. He said the very best thing you can do for a child is give them immediate rewards for the work they do. Don't say if you get an A, a month later you're going to get X. You get that A, great, we're going to dinner tonight. Or you get your extra 30 minutes on your video game, Fortnite or MLB game, whatever it is. But it's immediate. It's not immediate gratification. It's immediate motivation, immediate reward for an action. That's how people, and then if you do that enough, and that's all part of cognitive behavioral therapy, then it'll be part of who they are.
How does gig workers fit into that, what you just said? And more so, gig workers actually started in the Hollywood studio system, right?
Yeah.
Because all these people that you just named, they all come together, they work on a project, and then they go to the beach, right? And then they decide when they want to work again, and they start looking for work.
Yeah, well, the hardest thing is actually being out of work when you're in Hollywood, because you never know if you're going to get another job again, right? So while they're at the beach, they're stressing out. But you're right, they're gig workers, they all are, and then they come back again. It wasn't, by the way it was always. Remember, the original studios had actors on staff, they had writers on staff, they had all the technicians on staff. They were real companies back then. And then it broke up. They even owned the movie theaters, but they were told they had to sell those off because it was too much of a monopoly. Gig workers are unique. I think it's a very important, what a great question too, because how do you treat gig workers that come in and then they don't care as much because they're not part of the organization as they'll work for Warner Brothers one day and they'll work for Fox the next, and then they'll be with DreamWorks and so on the next day. It's the relationships that keep them coming back to where they are. They're not tied to the ownership of the studio. They're tied to the studio or the executive or the director or the assistant director, the line producer. It's all relationships for gig workers, for those types of gig workers. And we're talking about gig workers for Uber. That's all. What keeps them motivated is they don't want you going to a taxi, to a city taxi, right? And it's worked. In fact, it doesn't work in Japan because the city taxis are just as good, if not better, than Uber. But you go to New York City, I don't want to get in one of those yellow cabs when I have a chance to get in a nice, comfortable Uber that's clean, that's a nice guy that will actually look at me and acknowledge me as a human being. So as long as that happens, there'll be continual need for Ubers or Lyfts, and the taxi industry is in deeper trouble until they're able to clean themselves up and be better at what they're supposed to be doing. It's an individual relationship for gig workers.
Richard Polak, I'm just delighted to have this opportunity to learn from you and to hear about your journey of writing this book and the success. Talk about an endeavor long term until the movie opens, and there it is. It's a box office.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. It's really great to connect with you again, and I follow you your whole life, actually, all the time.
Wait, you did a Cannes thing on that beach in Cannes. You did a IBIS thing a long time
IBIS
ago.
Conference in Cannes, all over the world.
I'm jealous.
Well,
I should have done that with you.
Oh, well, maybe you can do the next one. It might be in Singapore next year.
Singapore.
Yeah.
I've never been there, but Joanne has been there. And so we have a friend in New Zealand, and maybe we'll tie that together. I know it's like over here and over there, but it's probably 18-hour flight.
Right. Well, they're used to that there. The people from Singapore and Australia, they go back and forth all the time from Sydney to Singapore and Hong Kong. So figure that one out. That's a triangle.
Exciting world we live in. Let's keep it going.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks for being on Global TV. Richard Polak. It's richardpolak.com, right?
On richardpolak.com, right.
That's Polak.
That's right. Yeah.
Right. That's
one L, no C. That's right. Everybody thinks I misspell my name, but that's really the way it's spelled.
No, I like the simplification. That's great.
Yeah, thank you, Ed.
Okay, ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.